An anti-immigration movement continues to pick up steam in South Africa. But are the protesters battling crime and unemployment, or using the country's woes to promote a xenophobic agenda? I'm Jafar Hassan, and today's newsmaker is Operation Dudula. In the Zulu language, Dudula means to force out or knock down, and the group has its sights on a number of targets, from dirty cops to drug dealers, but most of all, they want undocumented migrants to get out. And regardless of where you fall on illegal immigration, the fact is, South Africa is fertile ground for a movement like Operation Dudula. More than a third of the country is food insecure. 10% of the population owns 80% of the wealth, and 40% of black South Africans are unemployed. But these are not just numbers, they are a broken promise. The end of apartheid was supposed to bring an end to inequality, and efforts to do so by the ruling ANC party have failed so far, and that has led to Operation Dudula's breakout moment. In June of last year, protesters in Johannesburg caught the attention of many South Africans who cannot find a job when they confronted businesses suspected of hiring undocumented migrants. A community activist by the name of Lux Dlamini led the way. For some, he's a source of hope. For others, the man is a vigilante.
Drugs is not an easy problem to talk about. Illegal immigrants is not an easy subject to talk about because you already get labeled xenophobic. The people hide behind the word xenophobia and hide their nonsense and illegal activities behind that word.
Now, this story has gotten more complex during that past couple of weeks. Recently, Dlamini split from Operation Dudula, siding with those who oppose the group's stance on foreign nationals. But with or without him, the marches continue in cities and townships big and small, with the latest action taking place as early as today. And their sentiment, outlined by a protester back in March, has remained steadfast.
We cannot have illegality running rampant in our society. It's got nothing to do with xenophobia. We have a system, right, inherited from the previous system, don't worry, from the previous apartheid regime, where illegality, as long as it is condoned by politicians, is fine.
Now, Operation Dudula put up their deputy chairman to be on the program, but unfortunately, we could not get him in front of camera in time for the debate. But we do have from Johannesburg, Ike Khumalo. He is a lawyer and a vocal supporter of Operation Dudula. Also with us is Andrew Whitfield, South Africa's Shadow Minister of Police, representing the National Assembly for the Democratic Alliance Party. And also in Johannesburg is Gareth Newham, head of the Justice and Violence Prevention Program at the Institute for Security Studies. Thanks all for being with us today here on The Newsmakers. Now, Ike, I want to start with you and share a report that Gareth's organization recently published about the rise of xenophobia in South Africa. While it names a number of groups, the report highlights Operation Dudula and says, while publicly denying it, these groups are increasingly using violence to target those they perceive to be undocumented foreign nationals from their homes and businesses. And the report explicitly calls the attacks xenophobic inspired. So, please, Ike, explain to Gareth why he and his institute are wrong.
It is nonsensical to use the term xenophobia because xenophobia is the term that is used against South Africans. Whenever South Africans, they can see the nonsense that is caused by foreigners who are here, we are called xenophobic. If you can check the statistics, the South African police, they will tell you for every violent crimes in the north of Joburg and every CBD, there's always involvement of foreigners, Nigerians selling drugs, Pakistani mafia, Cyprus mafia. We've got new crimes that never existed before 1994, like building hijackings, the rise of cocaine in the townships, prostitution, kidnappings, and all these crimes are done by foreign nationals, building hijackings, people visiting on holidays. When they come back, they find that foreigners have occupied their houses. And when South Africans are complaining, they are told that they are xenophobic. We cannot be blackmailed by terms like xenophobic. If you check the groups, like human rights groups, most of them, they've been infiltrated by the foreigners themselves who are advocating that South Africans, they must relax their borders. They must allow people here to come into this country. People who've messed up their own countries when they were liberated. They never built a single building. They were killing each other. Instead of governing each other, they were chasing. The very same white people who are here that they are following, they told South Africans that black South Africans, they've accommodated whites. They think that they're better themselves. But they are here, to mess up this country. Must we keep quiet? When people are coming here from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, simply because they're Africans like us. No, we can't keep quiet, and we are not xenophobic because all these violent crimes, they are perpetrated by foreigners on South Africans.
Okay,
it's not the other way around.
You made your point. Now, according to Ike, the usage of the word xenophobic is basically an effort to blackmail the group into changing its opinion. Gareth, is that the case?
No, the term xenophobia simply means a negative and hostile attitude towards foreign nationals from outside of your country. That's what the term xenophobic means. Ike is right. There are many challenges facing South Africa. High crime is certainly one of them. Inadequate housing, inadequate service delivery, high levels of poverty and unemployment are all challenges facing South Africans. But if you're talking about statistics, we know from the best available data from Statistics South Africa that only about 6.5% of our population is foreign born. In other words, born outside of South Africa. And that includes people who've become South Africans, people who are here in business, people who are here on economic migrants, or here illegally or undocumentedly. So it's not that that group of people is committing most of the crime. We know from police data that a vast majority of all crimes in South Africa are committed by South Africans. Yes, there are foreign nationals who do commit crimes, but out of the almost 4 million foreign nationals in the country, a very small proportion of them are committing the crimes. And when they do commit crimes, they tend to work hand in hand with local South Africans. It's very rare to find these guys who are committing crimes from other countries doing it on their own. So we do have a high crime rate and a problem with crime, but the solution is not to target all people from other countries. The solution is to ensure that our government is accountable. It fixes the problems that we're facing, unemployment, poverty, and so forth, and it improves policing. We're getting distracted by thinking the problem is foreign nationals. All the data, all the evidence shows the problem is not foreign nationals. The problems are much deeper, systemic, and have historical roots. All we're doing is getting distracted by looking at people from other countries.
You cannot talk of data when people are not documented. Some people are telling you that there are about 15 million, some saying there are more. Even the government departments, they don't even have the number of foreigners. Some of them, they're not caught. We've got people just walking on the borders. In Lesotho, illegal mining, we know illegal mining is done by the Lesotho nationals. Building hijacking is done by Nigerians. Fake products, alcohol, fake products. Every product is done by Somalis, it's done by Ethiopians, it's done by Chinese. All these crimes, to talk of statistics, you're basing on what? Because people are here. Some they've obtained our IDs fraudulently.
Okay.
So you can't talk of statistics now.
Okay, now let me add one question here. Now, according to Cambridge Dictionary, the definition of xenophobia is extreme dislike or fear of foreigners. I just want to ask you, the way you described Nigerians, Somalians, don't you think that fits into that definition?
Let me tell you this. Don't tell me about the academic definition. I'm saying to you in context, the term xenophobia is the term that is used against South Africans whenever South Africans identify the grassroots of the problem. I can also say that it is xenophobic when you go into another man's country and start to kidnap the 12-year-old and you start to prostitute their children. You start to break all laws. You start to take jobs that are not scarce skills jobs, because people who are here, they're not taking, they are not bringing skills. They are not bringing anything. They're coming with fake qualifications. Many of them, they're coming with fake PhDs in camps with curfew. They are roaming all over. You go all the cities in South Africa.
Okay, Ike, you've made a point. I want to move to Andrew now. Andrew, now Ike says that basically the country is told to accept these migrants because they are brothers of South Africans. Is that how the ANC is handling this, in your view?
Well, I think this is the central question, is how has the rise of vigilante community groups emerged in South Africa? And we need to understand the full context. And Gareth is 100% correct. We must use evidence and statistics and facts, not generalizations, to fuel the emotions of a very angry public. And so the context here is that we have a failing state which has created a vacuum through which these groups have emerged. We know that nature abhors a vacuum, and communities feel extremely isolated by rising rates of violent crime and the failure of the state to respond.
Andrew, if I may, I want you to expand on that. So now you are a spokesperson for the opposition, right? Tell me, if you were in power, what would you do differently?
Well, we certainly wouldn't have allowed the immigration services in the country to collapse to the extent that they have. We wouldn't have allowed the South African police service to be denuded of any authority to ensure that it maintains a visible policing presence in communities, that it responds to crime. The authority of the state has been eroded by the African National Congress to such an extent that communities are now vulnerable. We need to rebuild trust in the state, and that requires rebuilding state institutions that are required to secure our communities and keep people safe. It's simply not acceptable to scapegoat all foreigners in the country. Even those who are legitimately here, by the way, are targeted by community vigilante groups such as Operation Dudula to use these as a scapegoat, when the real enemy here is the failing state that is governed by the African National Congress.
Ike, are you happy with the measures Andrew just proposed?
No. Can I tell you something about Gerald? Whenever Operation Dudula conduct their operations, they've got police with them, accompanying them. And Gerald comes from a party like the DA, a party that was started by a bank, by mining magnates, people who benefit from these illegal immigrants because they see them as cheap labor. They've never once, raised the concern of South Africans when they cry about foreigners taking their jobs. In South Africa, we must understand that, majority of the people, they've had poor education. Most of them, they are unskilled. And majority of the people who are creating jobs, they are white. In South Africa, I cannot run away from those dynamics.
But can you share some stats with us?
What I'm trying to say to you, there are very few people which, I cannot give you from the top of the head how many people have got PhDs, how many have got masters. But I can tell you, from empirical evidence, majority of the people in South Africa, they are not so skilled enough compared to the white minority that creates jobs. And the point that I'm trying to drive here is the point that the white minority who are in control of the economy, they benefit from these people who are coming here, taking jobs from our people. And most of the jobs that they take are low skills jobs. And those who are coming from universities or at a certain level, a higher level.
Okay, Gareth, now you are the head of the Justice and Violence Prevention Program at the Institute for Security Studies, right? Tell me, can you counter what Ike just said?
Well, I think he was making the point that during apartheid, Black South Africans were denied quality education. So we're still sitting with that legacy. There are many South Africans who don't have the levels of education or skills that they need to be able to participate in the economy. So we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the world. Close to 40% of people are unemployed, and over half the population are poor. So I think, in terms of that, we understand what Ike is saying. I think the other myth that happens a lot is that foreign nationals are coming here and taking people's jobs. And as first of all, there has been, and where the stats come from the official government statistics South Africa body. And they don't only ask people where you're from, where you're born in this country. They don't go around asking people if they're here legally or illegally. They simply ask the one question: were you born in South Africa, or were you born in another country? And you can volunteer if you want to say which country it is. But in addition to that, they also look quite closely at the mortality and birth rates. If we had as many as 20 or 50 million foreign nationals in South Africa, we would see those figures in those other statistics that are gathered by different departments looking at an uncontrovertible issue, whether you have been born or if you have been killed or died. And we have not seen any major changes or shifts in those dynamics for the last 2 decades, to the point that you can say we are overrun by foreign nationals. So that is where the statistic that 6.5% of the total population of South Africa are foreign nationals, which is just under 4 million people. Now, most of those people are economic migrants. Most of them are here to make a living, but they mostly, especially if they're undocumented, we don't know what proportion of those 4 million are undocumented or not. But we do know that they generally work in the informal sector. They do work for below minimum wage. They're not employed in the formal sector. And so they're not really taking jobs away from South Africans, but they're also competing.
Gareth, if I may, isn't that a big failure on the part of the government?
Yes, exactly. What is happening is that we have had a deterioration in our economy. This was exacerbated by COVID lockdowns. We've had a government that has not put the country first, in the sense that it does not appoint the best possible men and women to run ministries, to be put in government. We've got what's called cadre deployment, so people are often appointed because of their political loyalties into key positions in the government, and because they are not able to fulfill the functions of the posts that they hold, that governance has slowly deteriorated. So we have seen we are not getting on top of our poor education system. We're not providing adequate health. We're not providing adequate electricity, water. We're not solving unemployment issues. I mentioned all these issues because these are governance issues that are not being addressed. And one of the consequences is a very high crime rate. The other one is growing levels of xenophobia, blaming vulnerable groups because it's easy to understand when somebody's different to you or not than to look at the bigger picture.
Okay, Andrew, I will come to you, but Ike, I see you want to jump in, please.
I'm saying to him, the people that are coming here, they are not adding value. They are not coming with skills that we do not have. Even though during apartheid we did not have enough education, but the people who are here in South Africa, they are fit enough to occupy all these jobs that these foreigners are taking. You know, if people are coming here to do, menial jobs, those jobs can be taken by South Africans. Why are they coming here? Why are they not fixing their countries? Why are they not working where they are in their own countries? If we've been liberated, we are the last country to be liberated here in this continent. And yet they are coming here. They should be showing us the way. And if we talk statistics, it's a game of numbers. And in South Africa, you cannot begin to talk of statistics because somewhere they are cooked, somewhere data is not kept, like Home Affairs, like now. We've got people who've been given IDs. We no longer know how many people are in this country. Some people say we are more than 100 million. Some say 80, it's not 60. So if you talk statistics, you can talk all day. Somebody will come up with statistics that, favors them. I'm talking about empirical evidence. What South Africans see when they go to the cities, all the cities, they're dominated by foreigners. You take a Canberra, you ask a person, how do you feel about South Africa? You'll find a foreigner with an accent that is not South African.
Okay, you have made your point. Now, Andrew, just a few moments ago, I saw you shake your head there. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think it's very dangerous. And this is what I think people who are opposed to the rise in xenophobia, which is a fact, the people that are opposed to it have a problem with, is the complete lack of evidence. You hear people saying all cities and all criminals and all criminality is connected to foreigners. There's absolutely no evidence to support that view. And so when you make these wide-ranging generalizations, casting aspersions on a group of people without any evidence to support your views, you are pouring fuel on a very dangerous fire where we've got high unemployment and inequality in this country, also because of a failing state. And organizations like Operation Dudula would never exist if the state was doing its basic functions that any other state should be doing, there would be no need for these organizations like Operation Dudula,
Right.
who are going street to street and house to house,
Andrew, if I may, and I mean, what you say has been echoed by Human Rights Watch, for example. Not long ago, they accused the government officials and the police of engaging in xenophobia. And part of the reason why this problem is increasing in the country, according to critics, is that many victims have no access to justice systems. In fact, the system which is currently in place in South Africa does not allow refugees to be protected. Now, you are in the opposition, right? Tell me, are you going to fix that if you come into power? Would you give protection to refugees?
Well, I don't think it's true that the justice system doesn't have provision to protect refugees. Whether it does it sufficiently or not is worth exploring, and you're probably correct that it's insufficient, the level of protection provided to legitimate refugees. But, you know, I was in the West Rand of Johannesburg, where the horrific incident of 8 rapes took place on an illegal mining operation. And the majority of those that were involved in that crime were foreign nationals who were in the country illegally. And so we cannot dispute the facts that there are some illegal foreign nationals in the country who do commit crime, but it's certainly not all of them. And yes, the justice system is failing. It's failing South Africans, and it's failing anybody who visits this country. Unfortunately, we do have a state of crisis. It's not completely broken, and it can be fixed.
Can I say this?
Okay, but please be very quick.
You cannot talk about refugees in South Africa. Refugees from where? Which countries in South Africa? Where? Because all these people that are coming here, they are men. You cannot tell me that refugees, they come here, they leave their women and children. You've got people here coming, you know, and they go back to their countries. They go back to Pakistan, they go back to Zimbabwe during Christmas time. And you tell me that those people are refugees. There are no refugees here. These countries are not at war. People are coming here to outwit, to outsmart, to take what belongs to South Africans, and you must rise.
Okay,
and
this is something you have said earlier. I want to move forward, and I want to focus on the future of the Dudula movement. Now, not long ago, the person who was leading this movement parted ways, citing opposing views. Tell me, what do you think, Gareth, the future holds for this movement? For how much longer do you think can it sustain?
Recently established in about 2020, and it's been taken off because of the exacerbation of the COVID lockdowns on our economy. So as long as people are in their communities feeling excluded from government, not getting proper protection from the police, not receiving the kinds of services they need in order to get jobs and to live comfortably, there will be people who will be angry, and that anger could be channeled towards foreign nationals, which is happening now. So unless there are urgent steps to improve the conditions of people's lives, and make sure that people understand the actual facts about what's going on in South Africa so they don't get distracted by foreign nationals and realize that they should be focusing their attention on holding the government accountable for the services that it's supposed to provide, we will continue down this path, and it can only end in ruin. If we start to see massive flare-ups of violence attacking people because they are foreign nationals, there will be retaliation, there will be spread of violence, and everybody, not only foreign nationals, will suffer. South Africans will suffer more. And that is what's so dangerous about this kind of mobilization against people simply because of where they were born.
Okay, Andrew, then just picking up on what Gareth just said, now certainly the country is going through a lot of problems when it comes to refugees and human rights. Tell me, what's the solution, both in the short and the long run?
Well, one of the key ingredients which has contributed to our failing state is this policy of cadre deployment, which Gareth did mention earlier. And our political party has been very vocal, speaking out against cadre deployment, which is effectively a political party inserting its loyal cadres into the state, whether they are capable or competent or qualified to do the job or not. And so we've seen a disintegration of the state.
Okay, now Andrew just spoke about unity. Ike, let me come to you. Now, like Andrew says, there are capable South Africans who are willing to work together. Are you one of them?
Yeah, as South Africans, I'm prepared to work with other South Africans because we do have a problem. The Minister of Home Affairs cannot say that we have a foreign national problems if we didn't have a foreign national problems. And the human rights, you know, it's also part of the problem, because whenever South Africans are violated, they're dead silent. They're dead silent. And I can tell you, one of the things that is also killing us, other than opposition, actually, you don't have opposition parties in South Africa because they are all in unison. They agree on everything. You know, they agree on pandemic, fake pandemic. They agree on immigration. They agree on everything. And we are dying because these oppositions and the politicians, they've got interest in foreign countries. They use our army to safeguard their minings. All the former presidents, they've got mines in DRC, they've got mine in foreign countries. So therefore, they're sacrificing this country. We cannot suffer as South Africans.
So just want to make sure I get this right. So you're not willing to, from what you're saying right now, it doesn't seem like you're willing to work with the opposition.
I'm willing to work with South Africans who are willing to take care of this problem of immigration. But I'm not willing. Look, for me, I don't have a brother from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Pakistan who came here to sell me drugs. I don't have a brother.
Okay. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Ike, I'll have to give you the last word. Ike, Andrew, Gareth, thanks very much for talking to us here on The Newsmakers. And thank you for watching. You can follow us on Twitter and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Jafar Hasnan. See you next time.